Hi, my name is Mark Cruz of Nikon Canada, and today I'm excited to show you the new Nikon D810. This camera has a lot of improvements, but let's start by looking at the exterior controls. You'll notice that the grip has a confident feel in your hand, accented by new grip material adhered to the memory card door. A new dedicated I button gives you immediate access to commonly used items, both in regular stills mode, as well as in live view settings. The side of the camera now has new dedicated doors for HDMI, USB 3, as well as headphone and microphone inputs. This provides better weather sealing to the ports that aren't being used versus the previous design of one single door. The metering switch has now been moved to the top of the camera where the BKT button used to be. The bracketing option is still on the camera, but has been moved to the side of the camera above the flash button. For quick and intuitive access to the focus switch, a texture refinement to the AF on button now makes it easier to find the button while keeping your focus through the newly redesigned Optical Viewfinder. The D810 now has a brighter glass prism optical viewfinder for more accurate color and a brighter organic EL information display panel, which contributes to the camera's exceptional visibility and low power consumption. The D810 now has a noticeably quieter shutter. As well, a new electronic front curtain shutter mechanism delivers minimum shutter release vibration, which is essential for uses like astrophotography. Now let's talk about what's under the hood of the D810. Even though it has a very similar 36.3 megapixel resolution to the D800, the image sensor has been completely redesigned. This has helped expand the native ISO range down to 64 and all the way up to 12,800 ISO. The camera also has a low one equivalent of 32 ISO, a first for a Nikon DSLR. The D810 has no optical low-pass filter and thus delivers both sharper and better low-light image quality than even the D800E. Extremely high-resolution images require tack-sharp focusing, which is why we've improved the autofocus of the D810. In addition to the 4 time-tested modes, there's now a new Group Area AF mode, the same new AF mode that we introduced in the D4S. Group Area AF now uses a cluster of 5 points to focus and can be used in both AFC as well as AFS. Group Area AF more securely detects your subject while avoiding unintentional focus on the background. This can be extremely useful when targeting unpredictable subjects that are hard to lock onto with only one AF point. The camera isn't just faster when it comes to locking onto focus, but its continuous drive mode can now be fired at 5, 6, or even 7 frames per second with the optional MBD12 battery grip. The new RAW Small feature will improve workflow and is a great balance between image quality and reduced file size. At approximately a quarter the resolution and half the file size of a normal RAW file, this 12-bit uncompressed RAW Small maintains the flexibility of RAW while giving a more manageable file size. There's even a new metering mode in the D810 called Highlight Weighted Metering. Normally, when capturing subjects under the glare of spotlights in a darkened stage, it's often difficult to avoid overblown highlights. But this new mode obtains better exposures by giving priority to the brighter portions of a scene while not being locked on to an AF point, such as when using spot metering. The D810 has truly faithful color reproduction and an advanced white balance system thanks to the new XSpeed 4 image processing engine. This produces the kind of healthy, well-saturated skin tones that studio professionals want. Nikon's new second-generation picture control system offers a new parameter called clarity, which can emphasize the crispness in high-resolution images, or when turned down, give them a softer appearance. You can now adjust the increments in sharpening, contrast, saturation, hue, and clarity to finer increments of 0.25, bringing a totally new level of flexibility to your image making. In part 2 of our D810 video, we'll explore the various D-movie options that make the D810 a versatile cinematic camera. For more information on the D810, visit nikon.ca. Hello, I'm Mark Cruz of Nikon Canada with part 2 of our video on the D810. Now, the changes made to the D810 that focus on still images are impressive enough, but we've also beefed up the video recording as well. Similar to the D4S, the new X-Speed 4 processor allows us to shoot at full 1080p at 60 frames per second. But thanks to a new method of video processing, the D810 will provide even sharper resolution while minimizing moire and false color. The X-Speed 4 processor also allows the D810 to produce smoother time-lapse videos by intelligently measuring exposure variances and rendering those scenes with smooth exposure transitions. Now, this exposure smoothing capability can also be used in interval timer shooting mode, creating high-resolution time-lapse movies of near 8K quality. The D810 now has an auto ISO feature in manual that provides the flexibility when shooting videos by locking in your aperture and shutter speed values and then using the auto ISO to raise or lower your exposure if you're seeing changes. For example, when you're moving from a low-lit indoor scene to a brightly lit outdoor one, the transition from dark to light is very smooth. The D810 now allows you to choose from 3 different metering methods in D-movie mode: matrix, center weighted, and highlight weighted, ideal for shooting subjects under stage spotlights. The new highlight indicator lets you quickly check for overblown highlights with the aid of zebra patterns. These can be displayed in the camera's LCD and HDMI connected monitor, or they can be turned off if you're recording clean HDMI output to an external recorder. To help minimize the amount of gear you need to bring for every shoot, the D810 gives you the flexibility to shoot with one lens but change the perspective by switching between FX and DX mode. The DX mode is a 1.5 times crop mode that's similar in size to Super 35, letting videographers shoot with the same angle of view they're used to. To switch between modes, simply use the new I button that now gives you access to commonly used features. We've also added a few new audio features. When using the built-in stereo microphone, you can now reduce wind noise. As well, there's a new frequency response option that lets you switch between wide and vocal ranges for voices. When you're finished recording and the editing begins, the D810 shines as it has a new picture control option called Flat that gives editors a great starting point before they begin any color grading. The D810's newly introduced picture control Flat option uses a more linear tone curve than the existing neutral setting. This preserves a rich tonal gradation for both stills and movies taken with the flat picture control, meaning that adjusting the tone curve in post-processing can bring out the fullness of colors even in highlights and shadows. To learn more about the D810, visit Nikon.ca.